Good afternoon. I've been promising you this video, and now I have a chance to get it done. I'm introducing a concept, a pattern that's really the basis for every story that's ever been told, whether it's religious or personal story or fictitious story from like a Charles Dickens or Harry Potter, but essentially it's the pattern that we recognize. Human beings operate on the basis of listening to and remembering stories. Okay? If you tell a story and you're a teacher, your students are probably going to remember it. If you tell a ghost story, people will remember the ghost story. You have to tell it well. You don't want to be a boring person. Sorry, that's the best I can do. You may know this fellow, the dude from The Big Lebowski. If you don't, look him up. People my age praise him. He was a person in the movie played by Jeff Bridges, not a particularly insightful person, pretty ambiguous life, but he kind of represents what we would call an archetype of the kind of guy that kind of sits around, drinks too much beer, and just basically takes life one day at a time or 1 hour at a time. Everything just kind of happens to him. He doesn't have a game plan for most things other than bowling and his interactions with his strange friends. It's called The Big Lebowski. You don't have to watch the whole movie. I will say it is an R-rated movie. It's not particularly R-rated, but it's got a few episodes. I always say that because I don't like to surprise people if they think it's going to be a Disney movie. Okay, now, what is this business of the story? And I'm going to start right now with it. It's actually this, and I'm going to share this right now on screen. I think you can see this. No, I guess I have to share it. How do I do that? It's always amazing when you get technology and then you have to think about what are you going to do. And there it is. Okay. This is my screen top, but my desktop. And this is the kind of the formal way this is introduced. I could tell this story just as well with any of you that are here, because the hero is you. I mean, it can be somebody else if you're telling a story about someone else or a group of people. It could be something historic or something really quite silly and minor, like going grocery shopping. And I'm going to share one just like that in a minute, just to tell you that what I'm showing you now is not particularly, outstanding. Here's the hero up here. And you see, first of all, you got the title, The Hero's Journey. And this gentleman or this person, or it could even be a dog. I used to watch Lassie all the time, and Lassie was always getting into trouble. So it was a dog because the dog was the focus of the adventure. Plenty of cartoon characters, plenty of anime characters of all kinds. So the call to adventure, and you may think, my gosh, what is this? Something with some formal declaration from a god? No, it could be a phone call. A phone call that someone wants you to go somewhere and do something. Now, I didn't say this as a great noble adventure. It could be a very minor thing. Like I said, going to the grocery store. So you get a call and you're going to go somewhere. For some of you, and I can look through this, David, you want to be a dentist. Let's say you get, you started on your first exploration. You're now going to be you're now in college, you're going to study and get yourself ready to be a dentist. That's your goal right now. And right now, that's your call to adventure. And your call to adventure, I could call it, could be something that happened in high school that changed your mind, or it could be literally showing up at the UNK campus. This is the same for Jessa. You want to be a maybe a doctor, a pediatric doctor, or to be a teacher, elementary teacher, to be a scientist. Chloe wants to be a science teacher in biology. If you don't know what you want to do, college is the call to adventure. And guess what? Well, for purposes of our little map, we got that right here, and this is the known world. This is high school, okay? I'm telling the story, so we're gonna let me divide this map as I need to. The known is where you're from, Grand Island, Omaha, Portugal, if you're from Portugal, and you go on this adventure, and then there's supernatural aid. Well, in the old days, they called it supernatural aid. I would call it people to support you and financial aid. You know, when it says supernatural, it doesn't mean a ghost all the time. You know, ancient myths, which this was based on, the idea is some god from the ancient Greeks or some mystical person or some stranger, some outside person or force persuaded you and is moving you toward entering into the unknown. Okay. Now, it's not on this one, but you have the option to not do this because there are many adventures. Some of you may have considered entering the military or becoming a minister or becoming, I don't know, maybe a farmer or something. And so instead of going on this adventure, you would have stopped and said, no, I'm going to refuse the call. I'm not going to do that. So literally refuse the phone call. Okay, so here you go. And now down below here, you are in the world. You cross the threshold. This is all along the way. Guess what? I am one of the helpers or the mentor. Don't call me a mentor. That makes me feel old. Because, you know, when you're 40, you want to make it last forever. Okay, now, what we have here are people that help you. These are people, could be your friends, could be teachers, could be an advisor, could be anybody, somebody you run into that gives you useful information. And so you're going through a transformation, and you know that. I mean, we got David, you're going to be a dentist. You're starting out now. You're turning into a dentist. Doesn't happen instantly, it takes several years. And I'm going to pick on some other people because I've got a lot of people here. Hope is going to be a speech path person. And JC, you're going to medical, I think, physician's assistant. Okay. And so all of you got these plans ahead of you, which you're going to do. Julia, you're going to be social work. So you're working toward that. So all of you got these plans. Now, we don't know what's going to happen because your life is not guaranteed. It's not outlined. There's no table of contents. This going to happen, that's going to happen. Now, we have an expectation of what will happen. But when we get down here, we don't know what will happen because all these other events in the world, hopefully you'll have a safe life. You won't get sick. You won't have any serious illnesses. You won't have an accident. You won't fall in love and then suddenly say, I don't care about this adventure. I'm going to go on another adventure. That's what this is, the unknown. And this really is extraordinary. If you live your life and you think about it, and you live your life as an adventure, it'll be a lot more exciting than oh boy, I'm so bored. If you're bored, it's because you're choosing not to go on an adventure, because an adventure can be emotional, it can be intellectual, it can be a physical, literally going places. It can be all these things. So I could put getting married. My daughter just got married. Now she's in the supposedly the unknown world of wedding and is over, and she's gone through the threshold literally. You know, the old deal used to, very sexist now, but carrying the bride across the threshold, it used to be a thing many years ago. I don't even know if you know that anymore, but anyhow, so you go through the threshold. And then down here, what is this? Temptations, challenges. There are things that are going to stop you and change your intent on this adventure. Now, sometimes you don't know what the adventure is. You're just on it and you're just going to see what's going to happen. That's my friend here, the Jeff Bridges character. He just, whatever happens, happens day to day. He is kind of a never do well, just a guy that just survives. And there are a lot of people like that. I don't consider it very exciting, but unless you got one heck of an exciting environment. So the mentors are here. These are going to be your friends in the dorm, etc. So what are the challenges and temptations? Well, passing examinations, studying, being able to take chemistry and be successful at it. I find that for a lot of people in science, chemistry is a really tough course for people. For some reason, I don't, you know, I won't say, I think chemistry has to be taught really well. And I believe that you need to select your teachers as much as you can to get the best possible preparation. It always bothers me. I'm giving you a little advice here. You run into a teacher that you don't think is fair or is too hard. You have to think about, how am I going to overcome this obstacle? Do I take this math course somewhere else? Do I take this English course somewhere else? Do I transfer it in? How do I get around this obstacle? Or do I just give up? And some people just give up, but that means probably they're not as determined to do what they plan to do. So your perseverance is challenged. Temptations. Well, I mean, I could talk about things like partying and stuff like that, but temptation just to waste time, which I'm sometimes guilty of. I like to do something other than what I'm supposed to do. And what am I supposed to do? I think I'm supposed to think a lot and do preparation of lessons and grade papers, and some of that stuff's not always exciting. I love teaching. Grading's not as much fun. I kind of changed it now. I do it more. I do less pressure on people to write and more pressure on people to respond to me and talk. I find it much more interactive and exciting. Okay, now you see down here as you go through these temptations, and I'm not using the huge ancient journey or anything, but if you were Harry Potter, it would be when he went to the you know, wherever that, I forget. I didn't read Harry Potter. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but I'm glad people loved it. But when he went to that place where he went to school, you know, that's the journey, and all kinds of things happened to him there. I'll show you in a minute a list of characters from different movies and stuff. So we got the abyss down here, and you may say, what is this? Do I have to die and be reborn? No, this literally stands for when you're changed. In a sense, the person you are when you're in high school, when you graduate college, you're not that same person anymore. You don't have the same friends. You don't have the same, you may have different values, or you may have fine-tuned your values. You may have developed relationships. Hopefully the transformation, all this is good. There are a few people that, this of course represents life. There are a few people that will crash and burn, literally. You know, something terrible will happen. They'll get a drinking problem, or they'll drugs, or they get in relationships and they just get stuck, and they never change, or they can't move on. And so, and move on in a positive way. I'm putting my spin on it. So down here, the death and rebirth doesn't have to be your death and rebirth, but the death and rebirth of you as a different person. And I wouldn't say death, transformation would be a good way to talk about it. So revelation, it sounds very biblical down here. A lot of people, when they talk about this, if they relate it to Christianity, they say this is the time when, after the crucifixion, that Christ was in the abyss, or the 3 days over Easter weekend. And it's often framed as something like this, a transformation, a resurrection, if you want to call it that. So I guess in a way you're getting resurrected in this class. So, okay, so the hero, and you're the hero, and go for it. So what is this transformation? Well, it could be anything. It could be your professional attitude. It could be you turning into a teacher, a scientist. It could be you turning into another person and going on yet another journey, because you may spin off of this and go into another known and unknown cycle. Some people get halfway through and they go and they do something else for a few years. They join the military. I had a student do that, wanted to go and be a special, she was a young lady, and she went and did a time of service in Afghanistan. And believe it or not, dangerous stuff. I could not believe it. First grade teacher. When, you know, and to look at her, you'd say, well, I mean, you wouldn't think of it. You would think she's just a little old first grade teacher, and she was actually lives in Omaha, and she was a sergeant and the head of like a unit or a platoon in the military police. Last thing you'd think looking at her is that she was a police officer in the military. And then she went on dangerous missions and stuff. And I couldn't believe it. I tried to talk her. I said, oh, you don't want to do that. You've already served in the military. Why would you? Nope, I want to do this. And she did it, and then came back, got married and everything. So she's back to another journey, you know. You would recognize it more typical. But she wanted to take time to go on yet another adventure. So it always pays to turn your mind, to have the mindset everything's an adventure. Okay, so we go through the transformation. You're changed in some way. And then there's the atonement. Now, what does this mean exactly? This means equilibrium. You reach an understanding with the world. In some sense, in a religious sense, atonement means you are restored to your purity, or you have now been changed, and now you reach an understanding with God, if it was God. Or atonement, you reach something inside you spiritually. You're now at peace. You've now been restored to how you need to be, to how you should be. And what that is, I can't tell you. But atonement would be like when you say, I've done what I need to do. I'm now a dentist, or I'm a doctor. I feel like I've fulfilled something that I owe to others, that I have told others I wanted to accomplish, and now I've reached. And so I see atonement as kind of equilibrium, as nirvana or something. And a good band, Nirvana. You should listen to them sometime if you're really into grunge music from the 90s. So, and then the return, and have the gift of the goddess. Sometimes in the old Greek ways, the goddess, or something, you know, like you get your diploma and people give you a car, or they pay off your student loan, things like this. And then so you return to the known world, but you're not the same. You're a different person. So when you return to this, it's the known world, but it's different. So we could look at college like this down here. Now I'm going to pull up something a little different that's not nearly as serious. So let's try that. Let me go to my little sheet here. I'm going to share something else on here. And what I'm going to share is This one. Okay, everybody see it? I think you can see it on my screen. You know, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to be really aggravated. Now, here's something to make this very easy. You know, you think, wow, I don't know, atonement and transformation. What is this happening? This is about somebody going to the grocery store, trying to get their snack. The call to adventure. I ran out of coffee beans. I don't have any coffee. I need to go to the store. Or you could have run out of Cheese Whiz, but Lord, I hope you don't eat that. I used to have a roommate, well, not a roommate, more of somebody down the hall. And he would just buy cans of Cheese Whiz and just eat them directly. He didn't even have crackers. He was too lazy. He'd just spray it into his mouth. I thought, is that guy still alive? Can his heart valve still be functioning? Okay, hand sanitizer, supernatural aid. Well, it's not supernatural, but guess what? People didn't believe the coronavirus was real. You remember those people said, oh, it's a hoax. Well, of course, viruses are mysterious. We didn't even know about them and bacteria until about 150 years ago. You know what people used to think caused disease? They called it bad air. They thought that if you would go out on the beach or if you go someplace where the wind's blowing, you would get healthier. If you go out where the sun is, now it's not like it doesn't have any common sense to it. It turns out with coronavirus, it is bad air. It's air where too many people are respiratorily, is that a word? Respiratorily? They're respirating and they're yelling or talking and stuff, and you get all these little slobbers into the air. And then people get it, and it's almost mysterious. They say, well, how did I get sick? I don't even remember being around anybody. I said, you didn't have to be very close. You just had to be around them. So hand sanitizer is like holy water. It cleans you and helps you. A mask also makes the difference. I saw a guy in a gas mask. I actually have one of those. You may wonder, well, why would a guy have a gas mask? Well, it's not exactly a gas mask. It's this little thing over here. And you can put it on, and it's actually got a respirator thing. Wow, I can go shopping now. I actually saw a guy wearing one of these at Walmart. Turns out it was just a problem with deodorant. Okay, anyhow, so you saw a guy in a mask. I don't know what that is exactly. Mentor, a guy who crossed to the other side of the sidewalk. Time to touch the shopping cart. I just did this. I went to Walmart. I had to wipe off the cart. I had to clean. I washed my hands with cleaner. I used something else to touch the handles to open up to get some iced tea because it was in a cooler. I'm careful what I touch. I keep my face down when I got my little mask on. I'm not very friendly. People say, you don't smile much. Oh boy. Well, just look at my wonderful eyes. Okay. It says here, a friend who is obsessing. Well, anybody in this age is probably obsessing, but if you know what I mean, I know people obsess about everything. Relationships. Do they not like me anymore? You know, no matter how old you get, you still get this deal with people. I not be your friend anymore if you do that. My daughter used to cry all the time because this other girl that she wanted to be friends with, she would say, okay, I want to play this. And my daughter didn't want to play it. She's little, you know. And so she said, I'll not be your friend. And then my daughter would just cry and do whatever she wanted. So you can see how nice kids are to each other. Okay, so the hero. So you go to get groceries. So you're in there getting Cheese Whiz or coffee beans. And then revelation, damn, what happened to the tortillas? They either outdated or they're out. And if you remember, during the coronavirus, you couldn't get toilet paper. somewhere, somebody's house has caught fire and burned up tons of toilet paper. I know that's happened somewhere. So how about tortilla chips instead? So now you got to find a substitution because you don't have tortillas, so you're going to have tortilla chips. And they don't have any cilantro. You got parsley by mistake. Personally, I never get that technical. And then you get 2% milk. I like 1 or 2% milk. I never get whole milk anymore. It's supposed to be healthy for you. So you can see this little unknown is going into a grocery store or a Walmart, and you got to do all this stuff in there. You got to park a certain place. You can't park over there where the people pick up stuff, so you got to park away out in the parking lot, and there's 100 people out there. And some people don't wear a mask, some do. People get in fights if they don't wear a mask or do wear a mask, depending on who's upset with who. You don't want to get in a fight with people carrying guns. How many people have touched this card reader? Well, guess what? My credit card now, you don't even touch it anymore. I think you have to touch it if you have to put in a PIN number, but I just get automatic, and I don't even write checks anymore. I haven't written a check in years. And so that's really thank God we don't do that. I don't even like it when I have to get a pen, because I think, who's been touching this pen? Because now you think about this stuff and you think, almost home, I didn't touch my face. Now I have supernatural aid. I have rubbing alcohol in my car, and I have bottles and bottles of it. And it was hard to find for a little while. I don't like people's hand sanitizers. I like the real thing. Just give me rubbing alcohol, you know? So back home, and ta-da, and I did this actual journey today. I had a mask, I bought some tea, I bought some cat food because I got a cat with a sensitive stomach. I got one cat that you don't want to clean up after a cat on your rug. After a while, you think of anything except taking your cat to the vet to put it to sleep. So here's an example. So if you say to yourself, I don't understand, Dr. Tracy, this is so complicated. It's everything you do. You go out with your friends, and you go out and you just go out in the evening, or you go to a party. Well, you're not supposed to, you know how that is. But you go someplace and you socialize, or you go with your parents on a vacation, or better yet, you go on a vacation without your parents. I know some of you still go with your parents. I have this little adventure, and my little grandson comes over. What do we do? It's the known when he gets there. It's the unknown what he's going to do, because he's less than 2 years old. So what's he going to do? Well, he's going to grab coffee. He's going to want to drink out of everything. He's going to want to, for a long time, he wanted to grab the cat and drag it around. But after he got scratched about 17 times, that kind of stopped. He understands the word no. He spilled things. He almost never gets sick. I'm really impressed with that. I have somebody else who changes the diapers, so I have that obstacle taken care of. So when he comes over, it's kind of the unknown, but it's mainly a lot of fun. And and there's not any, it's not dramatic like, oh, well, this isn't dramatic, but the transformation is we go through another day of my grandson with my wife and I, and we have our little fun and play. So that's kind of cool. And then we go, oh, I got a little magnifying glass here. I don't even know where I got that. But so our little journey goes differently. Now, let me show you one more, and I'll try to get a different thing on the screen. Let's see, more formal one. Oh, I know what I want to show you. You know this. Now, I'm going to use the term archetypes, and it's what it is it's kind of top of the screen. I guess you can see it on the screen. I can't. But Jungian archetypes. What are archetypes? They're people that fit into a slot. You can see the one sidekick. Like in this class, are the students my sidekicks? You know, you've got a sidekick. When you go someplace, the mall, do you have somebody who goes with you every time? You know, you're their sidekick. It's, people call them their wingman or wing whatever. And they go to someplace, I don't know. People say it and they go to the bar, you know. Their posse, I guess, or their entourage, if you're a really fancy person. Maybe some of you have an entourage, like there's 3 of you that always go someplace together, you know. Maybe in high school, there was a group of you that were together and you were kind of like the influencers, you know. Nobody ever admits to it. Well, maybe not here because Nebraskans are so humble, but I'm not being sarcastic. But let's think of these. If you know, I don't know Firefly. If you know Firefly, let me know because I know nothing about this. And I'm kind of proud. You can't know everything anymore. I don't even know all the movies. The movies I know you haven't watched, and the movies you know I haven't watched. Except Jojo Rabbit, I watched that one. That's a great movie. But I enjoy this class because we're just going to have fun, okay? Don't tell anybody. That's why this class is not to be shared with everybody. Star Wars. If you've ever seen any of the Star Wars, and you must have seen at least the last couple of movies, it started out in 1977. A lot of people thought it wasn't even going to make it. They thought, what a stupid movie, Star Wars. And I have to share with you that most science fiction movies in the early 70s were awful. There was one, I can't remember what it was, but Dark Star, I think it was. And they literally, the alien or whatever it was on the ship threatening them was a beach ball. And they actually made a movie out of it. I'll try to find it for you. You can imagine it's not very popular now. But Star Wars, they use special effects and they spent a lot of money on it. But this movie cost a lot. And you know what's ironic is all those little Star Wars toys and spaceships and figures and stuff like this. Most people had an opportunity to actually buy stock or to actually own the rights to those. And they couldn't find anybody to take it. They thought, I don't want to waste my money buying a bunch of silly toys. And so some of these guys, like I think the guy, George, oh God, I can't think of the guy who made Star Wars. But anyhow, he ended up owning a fourth or a half of the rights to the toys. The toys are worth a fortune just because millions, billions of dollars in Star Wars toys were sold. Okay, now, who are these people? Luke Skywalker, he's the young man that got the call to adventure. And what was the call to adventure? It's when the little R2-D2 robot had a video go off inside it, and it showed a princess who was Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, who passed away recently, really good person. And she was asking for help. So the call to adventure, asking for help. Now, not every call to adventure is safe. In fact, it's not. If it's a call to adventure, an adventure might be exciting. It might be a trap, you know, it could be a trick. Okay, so the sidekicks, Han Solo and Chewbacca. Okay, now you can look over here and you know, if you know Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, and I know you know Harry Potter. If you tell me you've never seen Harry Potter, I just don't believe it. But Harry Potter is the young man that's equivalent to Luke Skywalker. Sidekicks are Ron and Hermione, sorry. And I don't know this. Well, Lord of the Rings, I don't know as well. It's got so much in it. It's very complicated. Jenny is the maiden. I guess that's his kind of a girl that he's in love with or something. Dumbledore is the old man. I'm Dumbledore, except I'm a very young version of Dumbledore. Mrs. McGonagall is the nurturing mother. And we don't have one in our class unless somebody wants to take that part. And so there's a mother figure, a father figure, or a wise figure. There's a thing called the eternal child. And this is kind of a character that is light and fun. Yeah, that's what I'm, the eternal child. That's what I am. I'm this guy, Hagrid, or the hobbits themselves. They look like children, and they're always young. You know, you don't see a bearded hobbit running around, which is kind of cool. You know, they never age. In Star Wars, it's CP3O and R2D2. Okay. Now, in every book you've ever read, in every movie, in every short story, you have basically these sets of characters, more or less. You know, you go on an adventure, you have the villain, Voldemort. Look, the guy doesn't even really have a nose, but you know he's a villain because he literally looks evil. And this guy's just horrific. Sauron in Lord of the Rings, he look at the spikes coming out of his head. You know, so it looks like Freddy Krueger. He's worse than Freddy Krueger. You know him. You know Darth Vader. Okay. And of course, the Alliance, which is not good in the case of the Firefly. Shapeshifter. Now, this is an interesting character. Shapeshifter is someone that you don't know what to think of them. They can be helpful. They can be not helpful. They're not like tricksters down here. Usually tricksters are generally lighter comedy. They play tricks. They don't kill you. Villains kill you, and shapeshifters may mislead you. You have to think about what to deal with them. And this guy Gollum in Lord of the Rings, I mean, what a creepy character, you know. Very strange character. And Snape, now I don't know much about this guy, but he is in Harry Potter. So, and then you've got these guys, the tricksters. And who are the tricksters? They're generally funny, comic relief types that you like, but you're not sure about, you know. They're not going to hurt you, but they're not always the brightest people in the world. And that's how you can actually see, look at this. Both of them are redheaded, both sides. It's kind of weird. I often think sometimes that redheaded people are kind of picked on to be the tricksters. There's all kinds of strange beliefs about people with red hair. You may have heard a lot of them. Conan O'Brien on TV is redheaded, and he plays that kind of part. Comedy, but kind of tricky. So anyhow, of course, this guy Ron's got red hair. Forget that. So anyhow, so what I'm talking about here is these characters are the ones that you encounter on the journey. And so think about, I would like to pause this, but I won't, but we'll talk about this. We're going to try to get time so we can all sit and talk, because this stuff is really interesting. I mean, you know, when I talk, when I look at stuff, Zach, you work on a ranch. You did contract fencing. You must have seen a lot of snakes. That must be interesting. And you're 5 generations in the Sandhills. That is really interesting. And you like Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler goes on adventures, and he's almost his own trickster, you know. But you think about what you face when you go through your life. And so as I look at different ones here, a lot of you have gone on adventures. You've moved from other countries. Ada, I hope I'm saying that correct. You left Compton and went to David City, which is just an incredible journey. Hannah, you went from Kimball to Kearney. That's quite a journey. I mean, you're a Coloradan. big chunk of western Nebraska belongs to Wyoming and Colorado. They just have to pretend they come back here. And Jennifer, you were in your Jersey. That's quite a move. That's an incredible move. And Marcus, you've played Dungeons and Dragons. That's right down the path of everything on this list. You know, that's all that Dungeons and Dragons is as an adventure. Okay. Now, even the Notebook, which I always make fun of a little bit, but you know, romance. I like good romance. I guess the Notebook's okay, but well, anyhow, that's kind of the basic list. I'm going to show you one more thing from this list, and it's going to be, and I'll send these to you. This one is the formal one, and this is another version of it, of the same thing I just showed you. They call it the 17 steps. Three Stooges interrupt me. That means it's 2 o'clock. This is a more formal explanation of everything here. It goes around, and there's a lot of terms here. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I give examples here and stuff, but they're mainly from ancient movies or ancient epics and things like Jason the Golden Fleece and the Iliad and the Odyssey, and people that went on adventures to the Crusades, or people that sailed around the world, etc. Some true, some of them imaginary. Sinbad the Sailor, an ancient Arabic tale. But this is one I will also share with you. As I was going through the other day looking, I'm going to share with you a video that's going to explain this. And you're going to see clips from every movie, and you're going to know them. It's got Toy Story, it's got the Lion King, it's got people fighting aliens in space, it's got Harry Potter, it's got everything that in this. It's about a 1-hour video. It talks about these 17 steps. And here's my deal with this. You talking about this and knowing the steps in this adventure is a way to kind of put a structure or an outline to your own life. You know, you start out, it says there at the top, freedom to live. And it talks about how you move from freedom. I'm sorry. Some of these go the other way. This one goes this way, so it goes counterclockwise. I don't know why they do that, because I'm used to clockwise, but it starts on the middle and goes to the left. So the call to adventure. So you can refuse the call, or you can, but if you don't, then you go ahead. It talks about the belly of the whale. This is the story of Jonah in the Bible, when it talks about him being swallowed by a big fish. And he's in the belly of the whale, and he finally does what God wants him to do, which I think is to preach at Nineveh. I think it is. But anyhow, he finally does what God wants, but at first he refuses to do it, and he tries to escape. And what happens? He doesn't escape. He gets captured, and he finally realizes he has to do what he has to do. And then it talks about, he goes through meeting the god or the goddess. When it says goddess, it doesn't necessarily mean a female version of God. It means a person, or it could be, a real person, could be a fictitious person, but it's somebody that has great impact on them. It could be a spiritual advisor, as far as that goes. There's material, temptation, things like that. So I wanted to get this out to you, and I know I've talked too long, but just so you know this. Now, I've got a nice video that goes through these 17 steps. I'm going to send you a copy of all this stuff so you can look at it. If you want to print it out and color it, I don't mind. You have to get the right crayons. They're not as good as the crayons I used to have when I was in school. Our crayons had a weird smell to them. I was very addicted to them. I love snorting crayons. But it was just some oil or something in them. It's probably what caused my brain damage. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to terminate this little talk, and then I'm going to have you watch a movie, and then I will send you the copies of these, and you can watch them, or you can look at these and watch the video. The video is much more entertaining than I am, although I think I'm not bad, you know. Okay. So I'm going to stop the share, and I'm going to terminate this right now. We've talked quite a while. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on, we're going to try to arrange to meet with you live on Tuesday. I don't know if I have to do it late at night or what, but I may do 2 sessions, but I'm not doing 4. Okay, thank you.